What would you do if the person you've been ignoring all week turned out to be your boss's boss? And not just any boss, but someone with the power to end your career in an instant. Picture this. A packed military briefing room, maps spread across a huge table. Haranguing officers everywhere, and in the corner, there's someone sitting quietly in plain fatigues. No medals, no badges, nothing to show who they are. Everyone assumes they're just support staff, maybe logistics or admin. But what happens when that assumption gets shattered in the most dramatic way possible? Stick around, because what I'm about to share will change how you think about authority forever. So here's where our story begins. There's this Navy Marine joint facility, a big base running some serious operations. Inside one of the secure briefing rooms, Commander Thaddeus Merrick is running the show. This guy's got the whole package. A crisp uniform covered in medals, a confident voice, and that natural authority that makes people listen. He's briefing his team on a critical mission called Operation Shadowfall. Everything's mapped out. The timing is perfect. Extraction routes are planned down to the second. It looks flawless. But there's someone else in the room. A woman standing near the back wall, holding a tablet, with no rank insignia visible anywhere on her uniform. While everyone else is nodding along to Commander Merrick's presentation, she's just quietly reviewing data, not making a fuss, not drawing any attention to herself. Just there. Then she speaks up. Her voice is calm, not loud, but clear enough for everyone to hear. She mentions something about secondary enemy patrol patterns that could cut their operational window from a safe 3 minutes down to a deadly 90 seconds. The room goes quiet. Officers exchange confused glances. Who is this person? And why is she questioning the commander's intelligence right in the middle of a briefing? Merrick stops his presentation. Mid-sentence, he looks over at her, and you can practically see the wheels turning in his head. Who does she think she is? He walks toward her, and his tone shifts. There's this sharp edge to his voice now. That subtle condescension we've all heard before when someone thinks they're way above you. He starts questioning her clearance level, making little comments about her being a supply chain liaison or just administrative staff. The other officers start smirking, picking up on their commander's vibe. Then comes the question that changes everything. Merrick looks her straight in the eye and asks, "What's your rank?" She looks up from her tablet, her face completely neutral. "That's not relevant to the mission parameters, Commander." You could hear a pin drop in that room. Nobody talks to a commander like that, especially not someone without any visible rank. But she just goes back to her tablet like nothing even happened. Merrick's visibly annoyed now, but he turns and returns to his briefing. Still, something has shifted in the room. A few of the officers keep glancing back at her, their curiosity replacing their initial dismissal. Over the next couple of days, this mystery woman keeps showing up. She's at training exercises, offering technical advice that actually works. She fixes equipment problems that the base's own techs couldn't solve. She observes everything but always stays in the background. And she never, ever mentions her rank. The officers start whispering among themselves. Who shows up at a secure military base without proper insignia? Is she a civilian contractor playing dress-up? But then someone notices Commander Merrick's reaction when he was forced to look at her credentials. For just a split second, his face showed something. Was it surprise, or was it fear? Nobody could quite tell. This is where it gets really interesting. Lieutenant Commander Donovan, one of the sharper officers on the base, decides to approach her one day. He asks her if they've met before. Specifically, he asks about a highly classified operation called Talent Strike from a few years back. It was a mission where an unknown commander pulled his brother's team out of an impossible situation, saving their lives. The mysterious woman gives nothing away at first. But then, she casually mentions something about a bottle of bourbon being left at the extraction point. Donovan's eyes go wide. It was her. She was the one who led that mission. But who is she? Meanwhile, Commander Merrick is getting more and more frustrated. This woman is disrupting his command structure, questioning his decisions in front of his team, and he still has no idea who she really is. He finally calls her to his office and demands answers. There's another officer there, Captain Wright from Naval Intelligence, watching the whole exchange unfold. And that's when the truth starts coming out. She's not there for a routine inspection. She's investigating a massive security breach. Multiple top-secret operations have failed with eerily similar patterns, and intelligence suggests that someone at this base is selling classified information. 3 failed missions, 12 operatives dead, and the trail leads right here, to this facility. Merrick is defensive at first. He insists his team undergoes the most rigorous security protocols. He says it's impossible for there to be a leak. But she calmly shows him the data, access logs with highly irregular patterns, sensitive information flowing to places it shouldn't. And here's the kicker. Some of it was approved using his own authorization codes. The investigation intensifies. They quickly identify a suspect, a communications specialist named Lieutenant Voss, who's been quietly extracting classified data for months. They set up surveillance, preparing to catch him in the act of transmitting the data. But then, everything explodes. Literally. The base goes into a full-blown security alert. The power fails. Alarms are blaring, and armed infiltrators are on the base. It's complete chaos. In the middle of all this, Merrick orders the mystery woman to be detained. He's thinking she's the leak, right? She shows up, and suddenly things go wrong. It's a classic misdirection play. Security personnel move in to arrest her. Captain Wright tries to intervene, but Merrick pulls rank. It's still his base, his command. That's when Captain Wright does something totally unexpected. He goes to the command console and enters an emergency override code. The kind of code you only use in the most extreme, life-or-death situations. He then turns to the woman and says the words that nobody in that room saw coming. "I believe it as time, ma'am." The room freezes. Every single eye is on her now. She steps forward, and something about her changes. Not physically, but the way she carries herself. It's like a switch has been flipped. She walks to the central command console with this quiet, unshakable authority that suddenly fills the entire space. General Evanthea Reeves. She states clearly, 4-star, Joint Special Operations Command. The silence in the command center is deafening. Commander Merrick's face drains of all color. The other officers stand frozen, trying to process what they just heard. A 4-star general here. This entire time, the Lieutenant Commander Donovan, remembering her from Talon Strike, quickly pulls up her classified file from secure channels. Merrick takes the datapad with shaking hands. He reads her service record, most of it redacted, but her rank and authentication codes are crystal clear. There are citations signed by Secretaries of Defense and Presidents. The woman he'd been dismissing and condescending to wasn't just some random analyst. She was one of the most powerful and decorated officers in the entire military. And he had just tried to have her arrested. Talk about a bad day at the office. So, what do you think happened next? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Ever had one of those moments where you completely misjudged someone, only to find out they were way more important than you thought? Well, buckle up, because this story takes that idea to a whole new level. Imagine a high-stakes military base on lockdown. A security breach is in full swing, and Commander Merrick is trying to get a handle on the chaos. Standing nearby is this quiet, unassuming woman he's been brushing off for days. He's busy, stressed, and she doesn't have any rank insignia. In his mind, she's just another civilian advisor in the way. He's so focused on the visible threats like Lieutenant Voss, who's now on the run, armed and dangerous, that he misses the real power players standing right beside him. Then, the floor drops out from under him. Jets Akal. A call about the very woman he's been ignoring. And the voice on the other end says, "You will afford General Reeves every courtesy, General Reeves." Not some minor consultant. The quiet woman is one of the highest-ranking officers in the entire military, and Commander Merrick has been treating her like an intern. But there's no time to process the shock. The conspiracy is deeper than anyone thought. Lieutenant Voss isn't a lone wolf. His handler is Major Hadley, the base's senior intelligence officer, and the person who's been feeding them information. The primary operative this whole time. The Lieutenant Commander Donovan, the guy who seems so helpful, pointing out every little detail, every conversation, every seemingly useful tip, was all part of a sophisticated infiltration. And General Reeves, she knew. She suspected it all along. That's why she came to the base without her rank insignia. Why she stayed silent, observing. She wasn't just investigating a breach. She was setting a trap. She needed to see who would reveal themselves, who would listen to actual competence, instead of just following orders from a higher rank, and who had betrayed their oath. The confrontation is incredibly tense. Reeves ends up in the secure communications center, cornered by the conspirators. They think they've won. They believe they have her trapped, while their extraction team goes after another officer, Captain Wright, who supposedly holds critical intelligence. But it was all a setup. Captain Wright wasn't the target. He was the bait. The extraction team they sent, already captured. The entire chaos of the lockdown, orchestrated by General Reeves herself to flush out the entire network. With stunning precision, she takes down Lieutenant Commander Donovan with a non-lethal shot. Captain Wright, who was hiding nearby, secures Major Headley. The whole conspiracy just collapses. Outside, Commander Merrick, leading a team at the perimeter, finally understands what he's been a part of. This wasn't an attack from an outside enemy. It was a brilliant counterintelligence operation, run by one of the military's top strategists, and she ran the entire thing right under his nose, while he dismissed her as irrelevant. After it's all over, the conspirators detained, the base secured. Merrick finally gets a chance to speak with General Reeves properly. He's mortified. He tries to apologize, to explain his behavior, but she cuts him off. She tells him a story. 20 years ago, when she was a young officer, her commanding officer dismissed her intelligence assessment. Why? Because she was just a junior officer. She didn't have the rank to make her words sound important. 12 hours later, her team walked into an ambush. 4 of her people died. That's why she operates without insignia sometimes. It's a test to see who evaluates information based on its merit, not its source. To find leaders who can see past the uniform and recognize competence. She tells him the military trains them to respect hierarchy, which is necessary. But sometimes, that respect for rank can blind them to the truth, especially when it comes from an unexpected place. And then comes the twist. General Reeves wasn't just there to stop a security breach. She was also evaluating Commander Merrick. And even though he totally failed her initial test, the way he adapted, the way he learned from his mistake, impressed her. She recommends him for a promotion. To Captain, in command of a brand new training division within Joint Special Operations Command. Merrick is stunned. He treated her terribly. He made a huge error in judgment, and she's recommending him for one of the most prestigious commands available. She explains that his initial failure showed his blind spots, but his ability to adapt and correct his course showed his capacity for growth. The military doesn't need leaders who are perfect. It needs leaders who can recognize their own limitations and overcome them. A few days later, the original mission, Operation Shadowfall, goes off without a hitch. It's commanded by the newly promoted Captain Merrick, with General Reeves providing strategic oversight. The new command structure works. Before she leaves, Reeves gives Merrick one last gift. His new captain's insignia. She presents it to him privately, in the same briefing room where he first dismissed her. She tells him to always evaluate people by their capability, not their appearance, and to listen to insight, no matter where it comes from. As Celiabis, she pauses at the door and says, "This room looks different now, doesn't it?" And for Merrick, it does. Physically, it's the same, but his entire perspective has been transformed. Later, he receives a handwritten note from her. It talks about that commander from 20 years ago who dismissed her. His career survived, but he was never truly effective again because he could never see authority without the symbols. Merrick, she wrote, faced the same test but showed he could grow, which is the true mark of a leader. Attached to the note is a small silver pin. Not a rank, not a medal, just a simple marker, meaningless to most, but instantly recognizable to those who understand what real capability in the military looks like. This story really makes you think, doesn't it? How many times have we judged someone by their cover? How often do we dismiss a person because they don't fit our preconceived notion of what authority or expertise is supposed to look like? That quiet person in a meeting might just have the brilliant solution everyone is searching for. That new employee who seems a bit awkward might be the one to spot the critical flaw no one else sees. General Reeves proved a powerful point. Real authority doesn't need to be announced. True leadership speaks through action and character, not through titles and symbols. The most powerful people are often the ones who operate quietly, revealing their strength only when it truly matters. So I want to ask you, have you ever completely misjudged someone based on a first impression, only to be totally surprised? Or maybe you've been the one who was overlooked because you didn't look the part. Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to read about a time when quiet competence completely blew you away. And remember this, the next time you're in any kind of group setting, pay attention to the quiet person in the corner, the one who's listening more than they're speaking. Because sometimes, the quietest person in the room holds the most power. And sometimes, the person you're tempted to dismiss is exactly the one you should be listening to the most. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story and the ideas behind it, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. See you next time.